You found it. Your home for the best content on your favorite team, the Fighting Tigers of LSU. Do us a favor, subscribe to the channel, leave your comments below, and be sure to smash that like button.
As of now, we still wait the official word for Simeon Barrow. He is now the top uncommitted defensive tackle in the portal, although all signs right now point towards him choosing the Miami Hurricanes. LSU last night received word that they missed on Damonic Williams, transferred defensive tackle from TCU. Those two guys were the top prospects that were uncommitted. Williams obviously now is committed to Oklahoma in the portal, and LSU is in heavily on them. Damonic Williams was on campus this past Monday, and Tuesday it was his final visit. And all accounts looked like that was going to be an LSU-Texas battle. Things change in this era, right? And he ends up at Oklahoma. So you have two teams, hat in hand, they're like, oh, what happened? I mean, when he had to visit to Texas, it changed his schedule. They looked like the front runner. But LSU got his last visit, and that's a massive, massive, feather in the cap. We talk about that all the time in recruiting, whether it's a high school guy or out of the transfer portal, getting that last visit, having the chance to make the final impression. That's massive. But you missed. Then all eyes turn to Simeon Barrow, who was on his final visit earlier this week at Miami. And LSU going into that looked like the team to beat. And now, as we said at the start, all signs point to Miami. So they missed on Damonic Williams. If they miss on Simeon Barrow, the word I would use to describe LSU's situation at defensive tackle is dire. It was already the biggest need. We knew that. Brian Kelly went on record during spring or after the spring game and said the only position they're targeting in the transfer portal is the defensive tackle position. Now, they've since offered a cornerback, or they've since targeted a cornerback, but the only position they were after was defensive tackle. And they went with big swings, as they should. They felt they had the NIL in order, all of that. They went big fish hunting, just like they did last year, and they came up empty. They felt better this time. So far, nothing. You miss on both. Where do you go next? That's the question, right? Because you have Jacobian Guillory, who's appeared in 39 games with a handful of starts. He started your opener last year against Florida State when Mason Smith was suspended. So you feel good there. That's another thing Brian Kelly's going on record. We've played that clip on this show plenty of times where, in terms of stopping the run, Jacobian Guillory has been fantastic. He goes on to talk about his development and then at the end says, but we're searching for that other guy. Who is the other guy? You were hoping you could get a bona fide starter day one who could come in and help you out of the portal like a Damonic Williams. That does not look like it's going to happen right now. So behind Jacobian Guillory, you're looking at Jalen Lee. Jalen Lee was a 4-star prospect out of Live Oak, went to Florida, transferred back home, but has just played sparingly at both Florida and at LSU. They get Sean Washington out of junior college. Warren Easton guy. Signed with Georgia out of high school. So the talent is there for the prospect. Didn't really hear much about him in spring. Gio Paez, the one guy you've gotten out of the transfer portal so far from Wisconsin, didn't go through spring with you. He's still graduating up in Madison. He'll be here, for the summer. But is that your day one guy? Doesn't seem like it. Seems like that's more of a rotational piece. And he'll contribute, and he's a great player, and it's his 5th year, and you're all for it. But you need that other guy behind Jacobian Guillory, and right now you don't have it. And now you've swung and missed. For whatever the reason. I'm less interested in the reason. Like, people can complain about NIL, you can complain about it. I'm less interested in the reason. I'm interested in the fact that you missed. And all eyes are going to be on your defense this year, needing to improve, and all eyes specifically on defensive tackle because it's your thinnest spot. So yeah, I would look at that and say dire. So where do they go? Well, there's some options we can go through. The first one, we'll go through three. Only one of them has an LSU offer, and that's CJ West. Now, CJ West is out of Kent State. Had a great 4-year career there, played in 39 games. You're looking at 7 sacks, over 100 tackles, 19 and a half TFLs in his career. We've been through it. LSU was one of his first offers. He's been offered by the likes of LSU, A&M, Missouri, Florida State. You've got some Big Ten teams in there as well, Wisconsin, Illinois, Rutgers. He's scheduled some Big Ten visits. So far, no visit to LSU, but he does have an offer in hand. But LSU went so heavy in on guys like Damonic Williams and Simeon Barrow, as they should have. Is it too late to circle back with a guy like CJ West? That offer came to him in mid-April. And that's a fair question to ask, because I look at him and I see a guy with all that experience and the production who could come in and contribute immediately and maybe be that day one starter. The other two guys we're going to go in to, they aren't that. But you need bodies. Like if you're not going to get the day one guy, you need bodies. So if it's not CJ West, if it is too late to circle back and really go full court press and get what you need out of him, get him here for a visit, where do they go? We posed this question to Shea Dixon on Tuesday when he was with us. Because Shea had mentioned we went through Damonic Williams, we went through Simeon Barrow, and the word Shea used is, if you missed on one or both of those guys, LSU would need good fortune. Because defensive tackle was a popular position in the transfer portal this year, and when guys went in, everyone jumped on them. And you had some really good ones go in. Look at Walter Nolan. Good fortune. So the follow-up was, okay, who are some of those guys who would classify as good fortune? And he gave 2 names. And it's very early in the process for both of these guys. Throw that out as a disclaimer. Neither of them have an LSU offer. Neither of them have announced any offers from anyone. This is very surface level. The first guy is Aiden Huntington out of UL Monroe. Originally started his career actually at Kent State and then transferred to Monroe. And the numbers were really good. 12 games, 63 tackles, 16 TFLs, and 8.5 sacks. You look at him, though, he's undersized, 6'1", 281. It's very fair to ask, could he take the jump into the SEC? 100%. But while he's originally from Virginia, has played a year of college football in Louisiana, Brian Kelly and LSU have taken plenty of guys with Louisiana ties in the transfer portal. And if you're looking for bodies, that's a guy that is produced. That could certainly be a body. Is he your day one starter? Probably not. The other guy I would point to, and Shea mentioned him as well, is Terell Allen from Tennessee State, FCS level. He won the Buck Buchanan Award, which is the award for the best defensive player at the FCS level. He was an All-American, 28 TFLs that led the nation, 14 and a half sacks. The problem with him is he's not a defensive tackle. He's a defensive end. He's a big end, 6'1", 275, but he'd still be undersized. And could he even play defensive tackle in the SEC? Like, that's a big jump to ask. You might be asking him to do a little too much there. Go from FCS defensive end, where he was very productive, don't get me wrong, but change positions and then do it in the SEC? That's a big ask. Again, disclaimer, neither of those guys have announced any offers. Neither of those guys have been offered by LSU, but it's 2 names that we brought up earlier this week that I thought were worth mentioning again. Where does LSU go from here? That's the question. And it's the biggest question that they have to answer this offseason. That part hasn't changed. It's just gotten a little bit more dire for LSU's biggest position of need.
Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact. And be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.